Well, hi again, and welcome to DTV. In this segment, I'd like to talk about one of my favorite sports, squash. And I actually have about 5 sports that I'm involved with. I actually do have a personal trainer. I have played squash for most of my life. I do fence, and I'm a foil fencer. And I do some cycling. And I like to dance, modern dance, and I do a fair bit of running, so I'm keeping myself in pretty good shape and feel great. But today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about squash, a little bit about the background behind it, and show you the basics of a good swing and the importance of that. Essentially, I've been playing squash for on and off over my lifetime. It starts and it stops and it starts and it stops, and I really enjoy it. Didn't have proper formal training over those years and developed some bad habits. However, just recently I joined, actually over a year or so, joined the National Squash Academy here in Toronto, which is situated at Downsview Air Force Base. And how lucky am I, because I have an aviation background, and for me to be playing squash, one of my favorite things, in a hangar is very, very cool. The National Squash Academy is essentially represents Canada on a federal level and on a national level, and they have been doing some really amazing things there. It's quite a privilege to be a part of it. Jonathan Power, one of the world's professional squash players, as well as the next generation of what I call the next Olympic gold medalists, are all part of the facilities, and it's great to see them, talk to them, and pick up tips and lessons, etc. I was there a couple of weeks or so ago, and they launched a pretty important event for Canada, where they essentially had the first all-glass doubles squash court. And it was a major event. A lot of very important and old-time, very good squash players were there, as well as a lot of political people, and it made quite a statement for Canada. As you may or may not know, squash has been given recognition for being a part of the Olympics in the future. And so it's my opinion that Jonathan Power and the team of really, really great players there will, I'm sure, be bringing some Canadian gold medal back to Canada, and yay Canada for that. That's essentially the facilities, but I did want to talk to you about a good technique, a proper technique for a swing. And it's something that if you don't get right off the bat, yes, you can have injuries. Yes, it can really improve your game if you do things properly. And if you don't, trying to unlearn things and relearn them in the future is much more difficult and more challenging for both you and the trainer. So essentially, I'm going to step back and show you some of the things that I've learned at the academy. Essentially, the stance is basically your feet are in about as wide a position as a squash racket, or if you can imagine your shoulders in between the insides of your feet. And it's kind of a squatting position, a lunging position, almost like what a wrestler would have. However, your weight is not forward on your toes, putting strain on your calves or your toes, or leaning forward and putting strain on your back, but more like sitting and resting your weight on your heels and having your balance centered so that there's no strain on your back. Essentially, the racket is held flat, as if you were holding a frying pan, and the index finger is held up quite high, and the other finger is held in a flat position here. So essentially, you can imagine yourself frying something that way. However, when you're in the position for starting the swing, your racket really has to be in a center position here, both in the forward swing and in the back swing. the center position is also critical, and I'll explain shortly. But the first position, if I'm going to a forward swing, is to basically extend the arm out as far as I can and have the racket in an L-shaped, the racket and my arm in an L-shaped 90 degrees. The face of the racket should be seen just slightly, and essentially from this position, we are going to be moving the racket as if the butt of the racket is to move forward to about the center position. So you're leading with the handle. And as it moves down and it reaches the center position, you can imagine a pole there so that the butt of the racket will hit it and pivot around that pole, swinging as well as, and then letting the dissipating the racket back in essentially the same position on the far side. So essentially the swing is essentially lateral, or it travels horizontally, and it should extend out as far as possible. So if I were to sort of go over those actions again, from here it would be an out position to here, it would extend downwards, pivot along this point, and end up in this position. So essentially it would look something like this. Okay, so that's the forward swing. The back swing is similar, however there are some differences. We're still putting the weight on the back of the heels, extending over a little bit. That racket should be sitting in this position, and we move the arm out as far as we can here, L-shaped, seeing the surface of the racket right here. And then the only difference is that right now we sort of have a drop, so that the racket drops almost behind us to give us more time and space for leverage. And then there's kind of a swing. The butt of the racket is moving forward again, hits that center position, does its pivot, which is where it gets the most amount of power on both the forward and the back swing, and then extends out and fully to the back, to the original position where we started. So essentially it would be something like this. It would be out, drop, swing, and back to here. So that looks, it may sound easy, but getting the proper technique right from the beginning is very critical to having good technique and improving your game considerably, and also not getting any injuries. So that's basically my introduction to squash, and I hope you kind of liked my little introduction about it, and yay for the National Squash Academy, and yay for all the other Canadian squash clubs that support such a great sport. And I just wanted to end with the saying that we have in squash: hit hard, hit fast, and hit last. Take care. We'll talk soon. Have a great day.